The rain poured relentlessly as Emma Carter tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her eyes flickering between the dark, winding road and the tiny, shivering puppy curled up in the passenger seat. The little dog, barely bigger than a loaf of bread, whimpered softly, its damp fur sticking to its frail body. Emma sighed, adjusting the heater. She hadn't planned on bringing home a pet tonight. In fact, she hadn't planned on anything out of the ordinary. A long day at work, a quick stop at the grocery store, and then home to her two kids, Noah and Lily, had been her only goals. But fate had other plans. She had spotted him near the edge of the woods, drenched and alone, his large, pleading eyes locking onto hers as if he had been waiting for her. Something about him tugged at her heartstrings. Maybe it was the way he hadn't run away when she approached, or the way he had pressed his tiny, shaking body against her when she wrapped him in her coat. "This is crazy," she muttered to herself as she turned onto her street. The kids would be thrilled, no doubt, but she wasn't sure she was ready for another responsibility. Single motherhood was already exhausting. Adding a puppy into the mix? That was just asking for chaos. As she pulled into the driveway, the little dog suddenly sat upright, ears perked, body tense. His previously tired and weak demeanor disappeared, replaced with something else: alertness. "What is it, buddy?" Emma asked, glancing around. The street was empty. Their house, a cozy two-story nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood, looked as it always did, dark except for the faint glow of the porch light. But the puppy wasn't convinced. His small frame trembled, not with fear, but with purpose, and he let out a short, sharp bark, then another, and another. "Shh," Emma whispered, lifting him into her arms. "You're safe now." But the little dog wasn't barking out of fear. He was trying to warn her. As she unlocked the door and stepped inside, she had no idea that within the next 24 hours, this tiny rescued pup would save her entire family from a danger she never saw coming. Something or someone was already inside the house, and Max knew it. Emma flicked on the living room light, cradling the small puppy against her chest. His tiny heart hammered against her hand, his body rigid, ears perked, eyes locked onto something unseen. "Max, it's okay," she murmured, naming him on the spot, trying to soothe him. "There's nothing here." But Max wasn't convinced. The moment she set him down, he bolted past her, sniffing furiously. His nails clicked against the hardwood as he circled the basement door, his bark sharp and frantic. Emma frowned. The basement? No one used it much. It was mostly storage, a place for holiday decorations and old furniture. Her pulse quickened as she stepped closer, trying to rationalize the unease creeping up her spine. Maybe a rat had gotten in? A draft? Max suddenly lunged at the door, scratching furiously, his growls deep and unrelenting. Emma jumped. "Enough, Max," she whispered sharply, not wanting to wake the kids. But the little dog refused to stop. Then a sound. A soft, almost imperceptible creak. Emma froze. It came from the other side of the door. Her breath caught in her throat. The house was supposed to be empty. Noah and Lily were fast asleep upstairs. She hadn't seen anything unusual when she pulled into the driveway, but now, standing in the dim glow of her living room, she couldn't ignore the undeniable truth. Someone was down there. Max's barking became frantic, urgent, desperate. A new wave of terror surged through her as she reached for her phone. 911. Her fingers trembled as she dialed, stepping backward, her heart pounding against her ribs. 911, what's your emergency? "There's someone in my house," she whispered, barely able to get the words out. "Ma'am, are you in a safe location?" Emma's eyes darted toward the staircase. The kids. She turned on her heel, grabbing Max and sprinting up the stairs, her legs weak with fear. As soon as she reached the landing, she shoved her children's door open. Noah, groggy, rubbed his eyes. "Mom?" "Shh," she whispered, barely able to keep her voice steady. "We're playing a game, okay? We have to be super quiet." She ushered them into her bedroom, locking the door. Max was still growling, his tiny body pressed against the door as if standing guard. Below, another sound. A soft thud. A creak. The unmistakable sound of footsteps. They weren't alone. "Ma'am, stay on the line," the dispatcher instructed. Officers are en route. Emma's hands trembled as she held her children close, whispering reassurances she wasn't even sure she believed. Minutes felt like hours. Every noise sent a bolt of terror through her. The house was too silent, except for Max, who never stopped growling at the door. Then, a loud bang. The front door burst open. Shouts filled the air. Police officers flooded in, weapons drawn. "Clear the house!" Heavy footsteps pounded against the floor. Emma clutched her kids tighter as Max barked wildly. Then, a scuffle. A crash. Silence. A moment later, a firm knock on her bedroom door. "Ma'am, this is Officer Reynolds. You're safe now." Emma's legs nearly gave out as she unlocked the door, her body shaking with relief. The officer's face was grim. "We found someone hiding in your basement." Emma's stomach dropped. A man armed. He had a bag of tools, zip ties, and chloroform. Her breath left her in a gasp. "If it weren't for your dog." The officer looked down at Max, who stood proudly at Emma's feet, his tail wagging. "You and your kids might not have woken up." Emma sank to her knees, wrapping her arms around Max. The puppy she rescued had just rescued them. The police officers moved quickly, escorting Emma and her children downstairs while securing the intruder in handcuffs. The sight of him, a wiry man in dark clothing, his face contorted in anger and frustration, made Emma's stomach churn. She tightened her grip on Noah and Lily, who clung to her side, their small hands shaking. The lead officer, Detective Reynolds, approached her, his expression serious. "Ma'am, it looks like he had been hiding in your basement for at least a couple of days. There was a sleeping bag, food wrappers, even a list of your family's daily routines." Emma's breath hitched. He had been watching them, planning. She swallowed hard, glancing at Max, who stood firm beside her, his small frame still rigid as if he was waiting for another threat to emerge. Reynolds crouched down and gave the little pup a firm scratch behind the ears. "If it weren't for him, I don't even want to think about what could have happened tonight." Emma knelt down, wrapping Max in her arms, pressing her face into his soft fur. "You knew," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You were trying to warn me this whole time." Max let out a small whimper, then licked her cheek as if to say, "I told you so." By sunrise, the nightmare was over, but the reality of it lingered like a shadow. The police investigation revealed that the intruder was a repeat offender, responsible for several break-ins in the area, but none had escalated as far as what he had planned for Emma's family. The story made headlines. Rescue puppy saves family from home intruder. Neighbors, once strangers, came by with baked goods, hugs, and offers of support. Even the local news station showed up, wanting to interview Emma about Max's heroics. Sitting on the porch, Max curled up beside her. Emma watched her children play in the yard, the tension finally easing from her shoulders. A soft chuckle escaped her lips as she stroked Max's head. "You know, when I found you, I thought I was the one rescuing you," she murmured. "Turns out you were meant to rescue us." Max wagged his tail, as if he understood every word. That evening, Emma made a decision. She took Max to the vet, got him checked out, and picked up a brand new collar and tag. On the tag, she had a special engraving made. "Max, our guardian angel." When she fastened the collar around his neck, he gave a happy bark, bouncing in excitement. From that night on, Max slept not in a crate, not in the living room, but at the foot of Emma's bed, his watchful eyes never straying far from his family. He had saved them once, and Emma knew without a doubt he'd do it again if he had to. Because some dogs aren't just pets. Some dogs are protectors, guardians, heroes. Have you ever had a pet that did something incredible? Share your story in the comments below. And if you believe in the power of rescue animals, don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.